Hello students, this video is for chapter 1, part 2, history. Chapter name is history, when, where and how. In this video, we are going to discuss about the places where early people lived, movements of the people, impact of these movements and the sources of history. So we are going to discuss about the various sources of the history. So these are some of the important topics which we are going to cover in this video. So here we are going to start with our first topic, the places where early people lived. So in this we have banks of Narmada. For several thousand years, people lived along the banks of river Narmada. And as we know, the early people were hunter and gatherers. That means they used to collect roots, fruits, and many other forest produces as their food. And also they used to hunt animals for food and their skins. So they were basically hunters and gatherers. Now, the second place which we are going to talk about is the area along the Vindhyas and the Garo hills. Now, these were some of the areas where agriculture developed. The north of the Vindhyas was the place where rice was first grown. As we know, the early people were hunters and gatherers, but slowly and gradually they were moving towards the settled life, and for that they need to uh, develop the agriculture, because food was also the reason for the movement of the people that time. And if the people would be getting the food at the same place, they would not be moving for the food. So like this they would have started the settled life. Now next is banks of the Indus and its tributary. So some of the earliest cities flourished on the banks of these rivers around 4700 years ago. So you can find out the difference here. The earliest cities flourished on the Indus river bank and its tributaries. But the rice was first grown at the north of the Vindhyas, and agriculture was developed in the north of Vindhyas and Garo hills. So you can find out the differences like this. Next we have banks of Ganga and its tributaries. So here the cities developed about 2500 years ago, which is very late if we compare to the bank of Indus and its tributaries. So on bank of Indus and its tributaries, the cities were developed around 4700 years ago. But here on the bank of Ganga and its tributaries, the cities developed around 2500 years ago. Now in ancient times, there was a large and powerful kingdom named Magad, which was situated to the south of Ganga and along its tributary Son. Son is the tributary of Ganga, and that was also covered in the Magad. Now its rulers were very powerful and set up a large kingdom, and the kingdoms were set up in other parts of the country as well. Now here we have a map where you can see the agriculture first began in the Indian subcontinent. So here we read that At the Vindhyas, agriculture
Here we
was
have a
developed.
map of
You can
Indian
see the Vindhya range,
subcontinent. There the
and
agriculture was
as you
developed and
see
the rice
that the
was
map is
first
showing the
grown.
places where
Also you can
agriculture
see
first
the
began.
Garo Hills
So here we have
and
Vindhya range and Garo hills, and these were the areas where agriculture developed and rice was first grown. Whereas if you will see the Suleiman Hills and Kirthar Hills, these are located to the northwest of the subcontinent, and these are some of the places where people first started growing crops like wheat and barley. Now, wheat and barley was first grown in Kirthar and Suleiman Hills, that area, and that was around 8,000 years ago. Also, in these areas, people started rearing animals such as sheep, goat, and cattle. So, you can find these areas are the areas where agriculture first began. Now, next topic is reasons of the movement. Why people were moving from one place to another. So, people were moving for livelihood. In search of livelihood, they were moving. Also, they were moving to escape from natural disasters like drought or floods. Next, they were moving to capture lands because as people started to settle down, they needed land for agriculture. Also, they were marching in groups and armies to conquer lands of others. They moved for trade also. The merchants also made trips carrying valuable goods in caravans or ships from place to place. Also, the religious teachers traveled that time to guide and advise people. That means to preach. And some people traveled with the spirit of adventure because they wanted to discover new and exciting places. So, these were some of the reasons of the movement of people. If we find out today also people are moving from one place to another, like in search of job, for studies. So earlier the people were moving for these reasons. Now, what was the impact of these movements? That means, what was the result of these movements? So, because of these movements, the people shared ideas among different people that enriched our cultural traditions. Now, over a period of several hundred years, people have shared new ways of carving stones, composing music, and even cooking food. So you can see that because of these movements, the people were able to share the ideas and learn new things. Now here we will discuss about how our country was named as India, Bharat, and Hindu. About 2500 years ago, the Iranians and Greek came here through the northwest. Now they were familiar with the river Indus and they called it the Hindos or the Indos. And the land to the east of the river was called India. And thus the word India come from the Indus. Because of that Indus river, the name India came. Next is Bharat. So Bharat was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest, and they are mentioned in the Rig Veda, the earlier composition about 3500 years old in Sanskrit. Now later this name was used for the whole country. Earlier it was only used for the group of people who were living in the northwest, but later it was used for the whole country. Now next is Hindu. So the Hindu word also comes from Indus. Like the Greeks and that Iranians, they were calling the India as Hindos or Indos, right? So like that, the Hindu word also comes from Indus. The river was the Indus river was called Sindhu in Sanskrit, and thus the Hindus word came. So here we can find that the word India and Hindu both came from the Indus river. Indos came from the Indus river, the name Indus, and Hindus came from the Sanskrit name of Indus, that is Sindhu. And thus India and Hindu came. But if we talk about Bharat, it was used for a group of people who lived in northwest, and later it was used for the whole country. Now we will discuss about the various sources of history. As we know that we can find about our past through some of the sources, and those are known as the sources of history. So here we have archaeological sources. So archaeology is the study of cultures of the past and of the periods of history by examining the remains of buildings and objects found in the ground. It tells us something about the life and other habits of people who lived on the earth before the recorded history. So we will learn about some of the archaeological sources. Also, the people who study these objects are called archaeologists. As we already discussed that archaeological sources are the remains of buildings and objects found in the ground. So first archaeological source which we are going to read about is remains of buildings or monuments. Any building that has historical significance is considered to be a monument. That means historical importance. For example, we have Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. So Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are the remains of buildings which were buried under the ground. But if we talk about the Red Fort, Taj Mahal, they are also monuments, but they are still standing. Now, they provide useful information about the development of art and architecture, as well as the social and economical life of the people of times when they were constructed. That means at that time what kind of lifestyle was there for people, how they were strong economically, and which kind of architecture was developed that time, that can be known with the remains of building or monuments. Next is coins, and the study of coins is known as numismatics, and it tells us about the kings, the extent of their empires, dates, languages in use, trade, art, religion, and literary skills of a particular time. For example, if we take the coin of Samudragupta, show that he was an efficient Veena player. You can also check this in today's coins. If you will find out, you can see that you have date mentioned in the coin, you have languages, like it is written in English also and it is written in Hindi also. You can have the symbols. So like this, it can give many information. Here we have some of the archaeological sites. The first one is Indus Valley Civilization, which we already discussed. Second is Mohenjo-daro Civilization. These are the remains of buildings of that time. Now the third one is Harappa Civilization. So these are some of the archaeological sites. Now here you can see some of the picture of coins, like the second picture is the coins of Gupta dynasty, and you can find out some of the informations of that time through these coins. Now we have other objects. Now archaeologists find out, explore and unearth tools, weapons, pots, pans and ornaments by digging under the surface of earth. Now these objects may be made of stone, bone, baked clay or metal. They also study the bones of animals, fish and birds to determine the food of early men. Now the plants remains such as seeds of grains or wood are rarely available. Now if we talk about artifacts, these refer to the works of art such as paintings, sculptures, pottery, ornaments, etc. So they help us in giving valuable information regarding social and religious customs, food habits, clothing and means of entertainment of the ancient people. So through other objects and artifacts also we can know about the past. Now here you can see some of the other objects like bones and the other materials are there, which are archaeological sources, and you can also see the artifacts, you can see the pottery. So these are some of the archaeological sources. Now we have the manuscripts, and these are the books that were written by hand long. Here we have manuscripts, and these are the books that were written by hand long ago. Now the word manu is a Latin word and it means hand. As these books were written by hand, these are called manuscripts, and these were written on two types of materials. One was palm leaf and second was a specially prepared bark of a tree, that was birch, and that used to grow in Himalayas. Now these scripts are in form of epics, poems and plays, and they were written in the Sanskrit, Prakrit and Tamil. Now this Prakrit language was the language of ordinary people. Now here you can find the bark of birch trees. Also you can find the manuscript written on the birch bark and the manuscript written on the palm leaf. So these are some of the manuscripts. Now this manuscript is also divided in two types. First is religious manuscript, second is secular manuscript. So if we talk about religious manuscript, they were the books which used to deal with religious beliefs and practices. Like for example, we have the Vedas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Gita and the Puranas. Now these were related to religion. So these were religious manuscripts and they are important sources of information on social, economic, political, religious life of the people of those times. Now we have secular manuscript and these books deal with the lives of kings, politics, medicines and science. They are not related to religion. Now they are the form of stories, plays, poems, biographies of kings, account of foreign travelers. For example, we have Arthashastra written by Kautilya, that is secular manuscript. Indica we have by Megasthenes, and Harashcharita that was written by Banabhatta. So these all are secular manuscript. They are not related to religion. Next we have inscriptions. Now these are the writings on relatively hard surfaces. For example, stone or metal. So you can find that the manuscripts were written on palm leaves and birch barks. But inscriptions are written on the hard surfaces like stone or metal. Now they generally conveyed king's orders, their deeds, their preachings, etc. For example, we have the inscription of Ashoka. Kings kept records of victories in battles as inscription. Now, ordinary people did not keep any records of what they did because they were generally poor, illiterate and unaware of their advantages. So they were not keeping any kind of record. Now here we have some of the definitions like epigraphy. Now the study of inscription is known as epigraphy. Decipherment. So decipherment is the process of reading and understanding the script used in the inscriptions. As the people were using different languages, different scripts, so it is very difficult to read that. Now scripts. Scripts consist of signs or languages. And last we have historians. So the scholars who study the past are called historians. Now here you can see the picture of inscription of Ashoka on this pillar, and also you can see some other inscription is there. So here we read about the archaeological sources and literary sources. Now archaeological sources are the sources like remains of buildings, monuments, coins, other objects and artifacts which are objects. And literary sources are the written sources like manuscripts, inscriptions. These are the literary sources. I hope you all understood all the topics taught in this video. Thank you.